Welcome, welcome from the land of conjurers, flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird. This is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you are listening to this program. I am Giant of the Frost, and joining me tonight is Allison, the Priestess of Wonderland. How are you doing tonight, Allison?
I'm doing good. I couldn't find the mute button.
Yeah, so doing well. And a triumphant return to Twitch for the evening.
Oh, yeah.
As we were talking about before.
Yeah. I like Twitch. I would be here.
Yeah. Jenny had a service that she had to go to this evening, and Allison graciously stepped in to be my wonderful co-host this evening. So we have an interesting program. We have a first with our program tonight. We're going to do open lines, and I thought about how to do this a million different ways. I sat here and pondered. What is it? The Grinch, like the puzzle until he couldn't puzzler couldn't puzzle anymore, or something like that. About the best way to do this, because like traditionally for like radio programs that did this, they would have telephone lines to do it, and we live in this wonderful age of technology. I was like, there's got to be an easy way to do it, so I created a Discord channel. But then I remembered that we use Discord as the interface for like how we do the show, so you can't do that. Mm-hmm. So Twitch has this wonderful thing that all of you guys in chat can participate in, which is guest star. And you don't you don't have to show your face in guest star. You can just do audio if you would like. So we're going to try it out. Is it going to go perfect? Absolutely not, because because it's Twitch and it's guest star. But we're going to see how it works, mainly to see how we can implement that, like maybe further down the road when we want people to call in and tell scary stories down the line. But tonight, feel free to call in essentially for any reason. I have it pinned in the chat, but if you have any weird stories, anything dealing with the paranormal, supernatural, metaphysical that you would like to talk about, feel free to come in and ask a question or tell us a story, and we will do that tonight. So I have that up there. Getting guest star. I'll see if I can get a lobby kind of open. That way, if somebody wants to jump in, they'll be able to. So let me see if I can work with that real quick. I have to add in a source here. And that's going to be, I got it. And we'll just
I can't remember the number, but I think there's a very high number of people that you can have on like all at once. I can't remember what it is, but it's high. Like 10 people, 10, 20 people.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah. And I think you can actually like set it. So that should be there, and we'll see how that works. So we got that copied in there. I guess I could have done that before the show started, but we have it on there anyway.
I never think of the thing that I'm supposed to do until I'm doing it. I have to like do things and try it out. I think that's called kinesthetic learning. It's kind of like visual learning, but you have to like be in the situation to know all the things that you want to do.
Okay. Yeah. Like for sure. That's definitely one of the newer learning style for sure. I think that's a lot of people. Welcome in everyone, by the way. Welcome in Hoaxers. Welcome in Amber. Welcome in Keisha. I hope all of you are having a wonderful week so far. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July as well. That happened, just went by. So I did have a good one. We went and lit a lot of stuff on fire and, did the whole a cookout 4th of July thing. So did everyone else have a good 4th?
I'm just having trouble keeping up with what day it is because Monday felt like Saturday, and then Tuesday felt like Sunday, and Wednesday was just weird, and now I'm having trouble remembering it's Thursday. Today is Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, today is Thursday. I always have that problem because the teacher schedule, once my last day of school hits, I would say I'm good for about a week, and then oblivion just hits until it's time to come back in. Like, I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know. I know what month it is usually. Like, sometimes I even get surprised, like, wow, like it's the 3rd week of June already. Like I just lose track of time.
Yeah, that is
crazy.
It's the 1st week of June. Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. But during the school year, I'm pretty on it because like it's like, oh, I'm creating the schedule for everybody else. So it's like test on Tuesday, which is the 13th, and then I need to do this by the 15th, and so like I'm super on the schedule. But once the summer hits, I'm lost. I'm lost.
That's okay though.
So let me ask everyone in chat here. I have it set up where you can be an audio guest. So you can come in, it won't show your picture. It'll just be an audio guest. We'll try it out. So I have it set up to take requests. So you just have to put in a request with the channel and it will pop up. And then when we get to that part of the show, you can be kind of waiting there and then I'll let you in. So if you have a story you want to tell, something you want to talk about, a question you want to ask, excellent, hoaxers. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So before we do that, let's go ahead and get into the news. All right, so the first story I have today is nearly half of the nation's tap water contains PFAs. A new study finds Americans living in urban areas are at most at risk. Nearly half of the tap water in the United States is estimated to have at least one type of polyfluoroalkyl substance, or PFAS. A new national study from the U.S. Geological Survey released Tuesday. The group of chemicals commonly used in consumer products like nonstick cookware linings of fast food boxes have been linked to human illnesses like cancer, low birth weight, and thyroid disease. The agency claims it's the first comprehensive study of its kind on unregulated private wells, giving average consumers information about the risk of PFAS. And when they grab a glass of water from their kitchen sink, said Kelly Smalling, the study's lead author and research hydrologist. It kind of begins to give private users information on some of the exposure risks. The government agency found through the research that the concentration of PFAS were similar between public supplies and private wells. The study shows that Americans living in urban areas are most at risk, while those living in rural areas are less at risk. So this isn't just in the public water supply. This is happening even if you have your own private well.
Gross.
Yeah, it's concerning. Yeah, I mean, the story goes on. Cancer fears. Compared to a 75% likelihood of PFAS being detected in water in urban areas, there's a 25% chance the chemicals will be found in water in rural areas. 75% chance of being detected in urban areas. So, this is something, I think we're seeing the payoff of all this technology and things that we switch to without knowing the long-term effects, the ramifications of that. Did you hear the story this week about aspartame, Allison? Did you hear any stories about
No.
that? The government has now made aspartame a carcinogenic. They've acknowledged that it's cancer causing.
So why are they still putting it in everything?
Well, I think that might change. I think that the story I read is that it might spell the end for like Diet Coke, or Diet Coke will start using whatever is in Coke Zero or whatever, moving on to the next artificial sweetener. But so much of how many Americans are drinking Diet Coke?
Yeah.
And then not just Coke, but any kind of using artificial sweeteners in their coffee and all kinds of stuff. So interesting. So not good news. The next story is Earth hit an unofficial record high temperature this week and stayed there. Sweltering heat is blanketing the planet, and the past 7 days have been the hottest week on record, the latest grim milestone in a series of climate change-driven extremes. Earth's average temperature on Wednesday remained an unofficial record high, set the day before, and for the 7-day period ending Wednesday, the daily average temperature was 0.08 degrees Fahrenheit, higher than any week in 44 years of record keeping. According to data from the University of Maine's Climate Reanalyzer, a tool that uses satellite data and computer simulations to measure the world's condition, the average global temperatures for Tuesday and Wednesday was 62.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That follows a short-lived record set on Monday at 62.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The Climate Reanalyzer figures are unofficial but significant data and an indication that climate change is reaching uncharted territory. So more bad news for our news segment today.
All bad news today.
We live in similar parts of the world, Allison. I would imagine you felt the heat like we have been here recently. I mean, it has been hot, and I'm in the Mid-Atlantic in Virginia, and you'd always deal with the summer humidity, but like the last 2 days have been like. Well, I'll put it this way: my cat Runa, loves to go outside, and we just moved, so we haven't really been letting her outside yet because we're not sure, like we're not settled in to know that she's good here yet. But she sneaks out the door sometimes, like any cat with a master plan, and normally she sneaks out and she'll be gone for like 3 or 4 hours, and then she'll come back. Here lately, she's been like, she'll be out for like 15 minutes, and then she'll be like waiting at the door, panting, like waiting to come back in. So It has been absolutely brutal.
It's hard to get them to drink water too.
Yeah.
Cats don't really drink that much water.
Yeah. Which is, yeah. And I've read that too. Like they get like in nature, they get most of their water intake from the meat that they eat. So, but yeah, Luce says it's been ungodly in the north. Hoaxer says I'm from PA. It was incredibly hot. I can tell the difference. Yeah, it's been sweltering. I had just started running. I was like, I have a nice place to run now, and it's like I'm gonna start getting some runs in, and I got 3 runs in, and then I was going like every other day, and then like the last 3 days I've just been like, absolutely not. And I don't get up early. I'm not gonna do that. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and run. Like I'll run at like 11 or in the evening, and it's just been.
I mean, it's dangerous too, because I mean, like heat exhaustion just happens like that. You're sweating and you're hot, but then it takes a while to cool back down, and then you stop sweating and you think you're okay, but when you stop sweating, it's like not okay.
Yeah. And I can be pretty honest and say I'm not in shape. So like I'm not trying to go out there and go for like a nice little run and not come home and have heart attacks down the block somewhere for sure. So anyway, it's hot out there. So make sure you're staying cool, and we'll see what happens, because of course, the long-term effects of this are possibly like, globally disastrous storms. which I feel like we've been okay with over the last year. There hasn't been, the hurricane season last year, I don't feel like was as bad as it had been, but
yeah,
new one's around the corner. So we'll see if we see any effects of that.
yeah.
The next story is about the sun. A giant sunspot grew 10 times wider than Earth in just 48 hours, then spat X-class flares right at us. And this happens from time to time. If you're not familiar with the goings on of the sun, the enormous dark patch and its powerful eruption are both signs that the solar maximum is fast approaching and could be more active than expected. An enormous, rapidly growing sunspot on the sun's surface has unleashed a mighty X-class flare, the most powerful type of solar flare the sun is capable of producing. The solar storm slammed into our planet, triggering brief radio blackouts in parts of the U.S. and elsewhere, but it could have been a lot worse, experts warned. The enormous dark patch, named AR3354, emerged on the solar surface on June 27th, and within 48 hours had grown to cover around 1.35 billion with a B square miles, or 10 times wider than the Earth. Space weather scientists were alarmed by the colossal sunspot's rapid emergence. Space weather scientist. Who signed up to be that when they were in high school? Space weather scientist. That sounds like a fun job. Yeah, they were alarmed by the colossal sunspot's rapid emergence and feared it could spit out a barrage of potentially harmful solar storms, according to spaceweather.com. After growing to its full size, the sunspot produced a sizable M-class flare on June 29th, but then remained calm until July 2nd when it belched out an X-class flare aimed directly at our planet. These are classified A, B, C, M, and X, with X, being the worst, and each being 10 times more powerful than the one before. So B is 10 times more powerful than an A, C, and then finally an X is 10 times more powerful than an M. Radiation from a gargantuan X-class flare barreled into Earth's magnetic field and ionized the gases in the upper part of the atmosphere, turning the molecules into dense plasma. As a result, radio signals were scattered, causing radio blackouts in the western United States and parts of the eastern Pacific Ocean. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or the NOAA, the disruption lasted for around 30 minutes, but things could have gotten much worse. Researchers initially suspected that the flare could have launched a coronal mass ejection, a cloud of fast-moving magnetized plasma. If a coronal mass ejection from a flare this size hit Earth, it would likely cause major disruptions to Earth's magnetic field, known as a geomagnetic storm. This would have resulted in an even larger radio blackout affecting up to half of the planet, as well as potentially damaging satellites orbiting Earth and impacting powerful infrastructure on the planet's surface, but luckily no CME was launched.
Wow. That sounds like we dodged a very big bullet.
Yeah, I remember I remember some of the shows I've listened to talking about these probably since the late 90s. And I think one of the biggest fears I have of something like this is possibly, just frying all of our power grid. I'm a huge supporter of like spending the money on infrastructure to like bury our electrical lines and to kind of protect from EMPs, because that's essentially what that would be, is an EMP just on a magnetic proportion, like where computers and all that stuff just go bye-bye, which I think could have bigger ramifications than like very quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we dodged a bullet, Allison, I guess. We dodged a bullet. All right. So let's get into the alien stuff. The UFO stuff has been going crazy. When it kicked off a few months ago, over a year ago, but things have just been getting more and more and more intense. And this isn't necessarily just reports of UFO sightings, but what's going on inside the government. Washington gripped by UFO fever as senators speak their mind on the mystery. Several members of Congress have recently spoken out on the topic of UFOs and the secrecy surrounding it. Back in June, whistleblower David Grush made the startling claim that the U.S. government had been in possession of intact and partially intact vehicles of non-human origin. Now, I think it was CMC Air Boss who posted some of that story on our Discord previously, and we were talking about that a little bit, about whether he was believable or not. But this, coupled with other revelations and official discussions on the UFO phenomena, has led several prominent congressmen to speak openly about their own views on the mystery. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, for example, stated that he had been approached by several high-ranking government officials who claimed to possess intimate first-hand knowledge about the subject. He also criticized what he called the very problematic lawlessness concerning UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs. There could be, in essence, some sort of internal military complex that's their own government and is accountable to no one, he said. It would be a huge problem if it's even partially true. During an appearance on ESPN, the sports network, analyst Pat McAfee sports talk show recently, Wisconsin Representative Mike Gallagher offered up the possibility that these objects could actually be an ancient civilization that's just been hiding here and is suddenly showing itself. He also suggested that they could be flown by humans who have traveled back in time from the future, but also admitted that his most pressing concern was whether or not they were evidence of advancing technology that had been developed by rival countries. I'm probably the most interested in whether it's adversary technology, particularly from China, he said, and even more. For the next story, Congress doubles down on explosive claims of illegal UFO retrieval programs. Asked June 26 about allegations of secret UFO retrieval and reverse engineering programs, Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chairman Marco Rubio made several stunning statements, some of which we had talked about before, talking about the high clearance and high positions, people with high clearance and high positions coming to speak to him about their firsthand knowledge of UFO-related claims. This extraordinary language added to the Senate version of the Intelligence Authorization Bill mirrors and adds significant credibility to whistleblowers' recent stunning allegations that a clandestine, decades-long effort to recover, analyze, and exploit objects of non-human origin has been operating illegally without congressional oversight. So,
wait, what does that mean, operating illegally? Like, are these civilian people operating illegally, recovering crafts, or are they saying that the government is operating illegally?
Well, I guess, what we're seeing here, specifically from Marco Rubio, and I guess also from Gallagher, Senator Gallagher, that they're talking about, they're having people who have high government clearance who are coming to them and telling them that this is happening. And they don't know anything about it. So they're saying, okay, well, if I'm a U.S. senator and this is going on and we don't know about it, then more than likely these things are happening without the government's knowledge. So essentially they're saying this would be like there was a secret government inside the government.
Oh.
So essentially, I guess that's Marco Rubio saying, I didn't know this existed, but I have people on the inside who are telling me this is true. And I see CMC's in here. He did post this story we were talking about before. There are several military complexes that we don't know about. In most cases, we probably don't need to know because of the military's purpose, for sure. We don't need to know because the Chinese and Russians don't need to know. But I guess the main thing that I took out of these stories here is that we have definitely been put in a situation here that's very much different than what was just happening you could even just say 5 years ago, but definitely 20 years ago, 10 years ago, where if you spoke to someone who was an elected official in the U.S. government, they would laugh at you or take some kind of jab if someone asks about UFOs. And now we seem to have U.S. senators who are alarmed and showing a disproportionate amount of interest in what's going on with this. So
we wanted disclosure this year, and we're kind of getting it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's been the big question. The big question has been, is this disclosure, or are they somehow giving us a little bit of disclosure in an attempt to hide a bigger picture?
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been wary of disinformation as much as information. So that was one thing that we had talked about previous in our Discord. So feel free to join the Discord if you would like. There's all kinds of pages in there to talk about those specific topics.
But they would be putting disinformation out to distract us from whatever is really going on.
Yeah. I mean, whatever that is. I mean, right. But if they're willing, to me, and I could be completely wrong. I could be reading this completely different because I've been, I've always, I've been interested in this for so long now. But to me, it's almost like, I mean, to me, it seems like the government has basically acknowledged to me, I just want to make sure I word this correctly. To me, it seems like the government has essentially acknowledged that there has been some kind of extraterrestrial crafts that have come to Earth and that they know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they've talked about this whole idea of like, well, this technology, we have proof that this UAP sighting happened, and we don't have that technology, and none of our adversaries have that technology. So then what's left to believe at that point? If no one on Earth has that technology, then it has to be extraterrestrial or interdimensional or whatever. So then the question comes, well, what's the rest of the story, and why are they leaving that part out, and what, and so then, everything can run wild. So I don't know. I don't know what the goal here is. On one hand, I'm super happy that there's lots of more information and that the government is trying not to dissuade people or ruin people's careers about making reports about this. But I'm also curious about what the end game is, because even though they're releasing some kind of disclosure, it doesn't seem to be any kind of full disclosure. Like, they haven't just come out and said, yes, well, actually, we met with the Pleiadians in 1967, and
that's what I'm waiting for. Like, it feels like just a tease, like or maybe even just a test. Like, let's see how people react to this, and ease the general population into it. And then they're going to come out and be like, we're all aliens.
Yeah.
The government's been aliens for the last 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It just seems to get further. Like, as these news articles keep coming out, and like, I don't know what to think about about this, this guy who came out and, like, we know he was in the Air Force. We know he has a highly classified position. And then he comes out and says that not only has the U.S. retrieved crashed extraterrestrial vehicles, but that they've also recovered life forms. And this is being carried by all the major mainstream like news media, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I mean, they're all talking about it. It's front page news. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know what to think after a while.
When he first came out saying things, it made me think of Richard Doty and how he was kind of wishy-washy, going back and forth. Like, he admitted to disinformation, but now he actually does believe, supposedly, at least that's what I think his last stance was, is that, but it was originally that he was hired to plant disinformation amongst the UFO community. It's my understanding. It just makes me think of that. It feels like that. It feels like something's missing here. Like, somebody's not telling the truth.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I had kind of almost forgotten about Richard Doty. I had heard interviews from him from quite a long time ago. Probably back on Coast Coast AM with Art Bell and all that. And his name has come up a lot recently again. I saw he was on another program recently with Jimmy Church, and he's coming on to talk about that stuff. And then I was looking back into it again, and yeah, like some people were saying that he was someone who specialized in putting disinformation out previously, but he's back on the radio shows talking now. So it'd be interesting to see what he has to say, I guess.
I didn't know that he was publicly speaking now again. So
Yeah.
I didn't know what his stance was.
Yeah, there's a guy named Jimmy Church. A lot of people might know who at one point in time was like a guest host for Coast Coast AM, and he has his own program, which is successful. Actually, Cheryl Costa was on that show, who we had last time, and he was on just recently. So I don't know. Maybe we can have him on here. So if anybody knows how to contact Richard Doty, feel free to come on and tell us what's going on, because I can't make heads or tails of it right now. So yeah, hoaxers is saying a secret agent inside the U.S. government for sure. Thank you, Keisha, for sharing the Discord. Hopefully that's usable. And I think, like you're saying, hoaxers, it could be a tease. Yeah, maybe for sure we could have him on. That would be great. So that was the news for this evening.
That was a lot.
It was a lot. And I could have put more. There were a ton. There's just been an absolute ton of stuff going on here recently. And I know some people have kind of been enjoying the news, so I've been wanting to add a little bit more on there, especially since we don't have like a full 2-hour guest tonight. I figured we could add more. I want to add more, and I don't know if you guys are like me. I got to a point where especially during COVID, I got newsed out. And I kind of got out of the habit of watching the news, so I'll just kind of gloss over feeds and kind of pick out the stuff that I want to talk about. And so if you're like me, maybe some of this stuff, is passing you by, and so we can bring the cool stuff up that we want to talk about. I
really like the weird news, and I like that you are posting the news separate now, because I'm usually busy on Thursdays and I come in late and I miss the news. So I like that you're having it on YouTube separate, and then I can watch the whole thing too.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm so glad to hear it. And for everyone, we have a Discord, share weird news. So if you see something that's going on, feel free to plug it in there, and we can get that on there in case it passes by my filter for some reason. All right. So originally, we had planned to bring you back tonight for the moon phases. And then you ended up filling in and co-hosting with me tonight. But let's go ahead and talk about that. We've been talking about space a lot, the coronal mass injections and aliens. But let's talk more about space and specifically what's going on with the moon, Allison.
Yeah, the sun thing was terrifying. So let's kind of slow down with moon stuff.
Hopefully the moon isn't that terrifying.
No, no, we do have a lot of planetary stuff happening at the end of the month, but for the most part, like the moon energy for the summer is like remember to play, have fun. Like Gemini season is like, well, that's sun energy. Gemini season is when the sun is in Gemini. But now we're in Cancer season, um, which is the sun is in Cancer, but Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it's still that like emotional, nurturing, caring energy that the moon encompasses. So for we've been in Cancer season for 2 weeks, and for the next 2 weeks we'll be in Cancer season, and then we'll have a Cancer new moon. And this kind of the next few weeks really gives you this opportunity to what are those things that like really fill your cup and replenish you and nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Because at the end of the summer, at the end of this month and into fall, we're having what I call retrograde palooza, which is basically by the time we reach the end of the summer, almost all of the planets are going to be retrograde. So things are going to feel very slow moving and stuck energy. And so you want to have these self-care practices in place so that you're just like in your little inner tube floating down the lazy river, just like going with the flow. And when you bump into something, you just kind of bounce back and then just float along. Because it's going to feel slow and it's going to feel, I don't know, like with all this heat that's going on, I think it's going to be hot and like slow and like bleh.
Yeah, I really do. I feel like we're kind of already getting that energy where it's like there's like a good few hours of the day, and then after that, everything just kind of dies off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that is because Pluto and Neptune are already retrograde, and they will be retrograde until the fall and into the winter. Saturn goes retrograde on the day of the new moon, which is July 17th. And then Uranus goes retrograde next month, and then eventually Mercury will. But the big ones that are happening this month are Venus and Chiron. Venus is the planet of love. Chiron is the wounded healer. So this is like relationship stuff that is sticky and hurtful, like painful. So be wary of that. And that's why I'm saying, like, get in your little inner tube and float down the river and just like whatever bump you hit, just like go over it, because I think it's going to be difficult. I don't know if it's going to be difficult. I think it actually might feel a little bit relieving. Like, we're the wounded healer Chiron is in Aries. So I feel like this is going to give us an opportunity to burn off all of those old wounds that you're just like ready to be done with. Maybe it's like getting rid of everything from the last 2 years and you're ready to just like step into this like new world, whatever that is going to look like. And with Venus there too, I think it's about just having the people in your life that fully support you. Letting like just let all those other people go to the wayside. If they're not loving you unconditionally, it hurts. But like these other people over here that you're this community that we've involved ourselves in, like they don't care how weird you are. Like just go to the people that love you for who you are. So I don't want to say it's going to be difficult, but it just feels like almost like this relief of just like just having the things in your life that you want in your life because you love it and because it supports you wholeheartedly. And just allow it to go with the flow. I think for everybody it's going to be a different experience, but generally speaking, I think once we get through it, it'll be for the better.
Maybe an
But
increase in the amount of love readings that people want
oh
maybe in the
God,
next month.
yeah, for definitely for sure. You guys might have to do your love reading episodes and only love readings. Um, but the big things happening with the moon this month are the Cancer new moon, which is July 17th. We just had a Capricorn full moon, and like Capricorn and Cancer, Capricorn is achieve, success, do, go, and Cancer is slow down, take care of yourself, take it easy. So it's like finding that balance between work and play and work and rest, and just really find those things that nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Find that like little nest or cocoon that you can retreat to whenever things get to be too much, and find and develop those self-coping mechanisms that Cancer can teach you. Cancer is the mother, the moon sign. We all have to be our own mother sometimes. So learn how to hug yourself and take care of yourself, whatever obstacle comes your way. So yeah, that's the moon for July.
Well, that's interesting, and I don't like. See, you're sharing bad news too.
Try to cut it short.
Because school. A lot of schools are starting to kick up now before Labor Day, so in August. And so the last thing I need is a Mercury retrograde, right?
Oh, well, I think the Mercury retrograde is not until December.
Oh, okay. So we got a while.
Yeah, so slowly between now and then, like right now we have Pluto, Neptune, Saturn's coming, then Uranus, Venus and Chiron are happening on the same time as the new moon, and they all kind of one by one go retrograde, and then they one by one start going forward again. So it's between now and December, it's just going to be slowing down and then picking back up again by the end of the year.
Well, so that could, well, I mean, it's kind of, I was about to say that could be good news for the new year, but I don't think anyone's worried about January yet. So yeah, be prepared. Be prepared. We'll get through it.
It's going to be like we had a Mercury retrograde last New Year's also. So it's just don't do it. Just don't plan to start something on January 1st again.
Yeah, I agree with what Hoaxer said there. He said it's a long time for Mercury retrograde. Usually they seem to come a little closer. So maybe we're actually getting a little bit of a break from that. So that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for that update.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I know we had to take a break from it there because we were hustling and bustling, but I'm excited to have that back on track again now.
Yeah.
Note to self: plan something in January. Yeah, for sure. And maybe do your Christmas shopping a little early if you're buying off Amazon. Don't wait till right before Mercury retrograde to get that knocked out.
So July, just let yourself relax if you can relax, and don't take things too defensively, because understand everybody is going through something. Let things kind of slide.
Yeah. It's going to be hot outside, so if you can, come inside and chill out. Come inside and chill out. All right. So, we have the guest star for Open Lines there. It is live, supposedly. So if there's something you wanted to talk about, a topic you wanted to talk about, if there's a story you wanted to share, if you have a take on any of the news tonight, you wanted what you think might be going on with disclosure and what the government's doing with UAPs, anything. It's completely wild card tonight, a complete wild card, whatever you want to talk about. But we want to make sure that this works. Moving down the line, we could even have this available with guests, so you can actually talk to our guests in the future and ask questions toward the end. So don't be shy. Go ahead and jump in if you have something you want to say. If you are completely and terribly not wanting to be public and to have your voice heard and all of those things, which I completely understand, you can always put your question in chat, just like always. Maybe highlight the message and you'll give us something to talk about.
Or did you say you made a Discord channel?
Well, that's not going to work. The Discord won't work because we're using Discord. So in order for me to hear someone on Discord, I would have to leave the channel and then I wouldn't be able to hear you.
If they didn't want to talk, they could post their story and
they could just put it in chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, put it in chat, or you can come on guest star. And I haven't seen any requests yet. So if you've put in a request and I haven't seen it, let me know, because that's kind of the goal for tonight, is to get this thing working. Even if you just want to say hello, how is everyone doing? Good night. We just want to check it out.
I'm excited for the request to see how that works.
Yeah. And I had a very good experience with guest star when we did the New Year's show, the predictions. We had you on and Yo Erica and Charity, and it worked super well. Like perfect. I was like, this is great. This is exactly what I've wanted. And then we're like, well, when you started to come on to do the moon phases, we're like, yeah, we'll just use guest star. And then the whole thing just crap the bed.
was that Mercury retrograde? Because maybe that was just a fluke.
Yeah, it's very possible. But that night, like, or maybe the next day, I was just kind of seeing if other people were having issues, and they said they were. Evidently, it's gotten better though. So we're gonna try it again, and really, it's probably the best option. If it works well, it's going to be the best option moving forward. And I mean, that's what Twitch created it for. So
yeah,
it should work perfect.
I also think that you can, like, the viewer or the guest can have something like OBS running. So you would do a virtual camera, and that way you could see, like, if we were doing tarot readings, you could see my face and the cards at the same time through the guest star.
Yeah, the virtual camera. I've used virtual camera. Like, so if I go on Jenny's stream, I usually try to use virtual camera through Streamlabs. Same thing. And then that way I can get like my lights and all that straight through OBS. Because if I just went straight on without OBS, it would look like it would look bad. It would just look like a laptop camera or something, So yeah. So I have it set up where it's just voice, so people don't have to worry about being seen and all that. And when you come on guest star, it also like has like a waiting room, so you see what everything looks like and all that stuff, and before you go on. So if you'd like to come on, put on a request. But we need at least one brave soul. Medium Jenny Lee did say that she was planning on maybe being a guest caller tonight. So we'll see if that happens. Because I'm not exactly sure how her night is going.
Well, I have something to say about the aspartame.
Yes.
I'm glad that is more public awareness, and I feel like it has been for at least the last decade, but yet we're still, like, it's still in Diet Coke, it's still in things. My dad was with a nutritionist for a very long time, and the nutritionist recommended stevia, which is aspartame. And he used to he thought like it was okay to just like have a cup of sugar in his tea. You know, we live in the South and everybody drinks sweet tea and there's so much sugar in it. And he thought it was okay because his nutritionist recommended this stevia stuff. Um, and he died of stomach cancer because he put
Oh wow.
tons of that in his tea every day. And it's almost certain that it like trails back to the stevia.
Yeah, well, you know, in the article I was reading, it was talking about, you know, a lot of prominent people who are like constantly seen with, you know, diet drinks, like Elon Musk and President Trump was like always like it said in the story. It said that he had like a button on his desk that he would push, and someone would bring him in a Diet Coke. Like it was like a specific button just to have Diet Coke delivered to the Oval Office.
Wow.
Um,
You know people that live without their Diet Coke.
yeah, Bill Gates was also like another prominent like person who was. I drink lots of diet drinks. I am diabetic, so like I try to find ways to keep sugar out, and I like juice and all those kinds of things, and I can't drink it. So even for me, it's something I need to keep an eye on you know, making healthier choices. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on as that moves. And then the question is it's going to be replaced by something, but then how safe is the something that it's being replaced with?
Exactly.
And I would 100% say, just from what I know, you know, not being a dietitian or a scientist of any kind, I'm a, you know, historian, so I don't have a lot of medical advice. But, you know, I've heard a lot of doctors just say, you know, you're just better off going with raw cane sugar, you know, for all intents and purposes, and then just keeping, you know, everything in moderation kind of thing. But for some people who, you know, who can't take in any kind of sugar, it creates a dilemma there. So
I'm trying to think, there is like a plant-based sweetener that sounds like stevia, but it's not stevia. But they all kind of taste weird, don't they?
I think they all taste weird, but like I know when I was a kid, I would go over to a friend's house or something, and they would have a diet drink, and I would say like Splenda. And
maybe it was Splenda and stevia is the good one. I don't remember.
Yeah, it would taste disgusting. But when I switched, well, one of the reasons I switched originally was when I was in the military, and I was having to like always keep an eye on my fitness and all that. And I was like, man, I'm drinking too many calories, you know, and like I want to put my calories towards stuff that like is gonna like protein and stuff like that. So I started switching to like zero sugar drinks. And so but now if I have like a regular drink, sweet tea or soda or anything like that, it tastes so sweet, it's like disgusting to me.
Oh yeah, it is weird when you go back to it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't take very long to like get addicted to it again.
No, yeah, for sure.
Oh man, so I totally had that backwards. It was Splenda and Stevia. Stevia is the good one. Splenda's the bad one.
Oh, stevia. Okay. Well, is stevia being used in any of the corporate drinks? Like, is stevia being used for like? I wonder if stevia is, because you know they have like Diet Coke, but then they have Coke Zero, which is just a different kind of sweetener. And I wonder if one is better than the other, or if they're both going to be cancer causing. Just one cancer causing to the other.
Yeah, because anything but like whole fruits and vegetables is going to be cancer causing probably.
Well, that's the whole thing, even with meat right now, right? Is that, you know, so, I mean, maybe, you know, I mean, I guess that's a discussion to have in its own right, is, you know, even though it sounds very morbid to say, you're born and then every day that you're alive, you're closer to your death. Like, that's inevitable, right? So life, well, the cancer is causes, so I don't know, like the sun is cancer causing. So I don't know, maybe that's just where we're going but either way, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and caring and monitoring your health is always a good thing. So Hoaxer says, I think Coke Zero is worse than Diet Coke, if I remember right. That's very possible. Just drink water.
Yep.
Drink water. So I was going to go back to some of the news that we talked about earlier too. We talked about the oppressive heat that's been going through the country. We talked about what's going on with the sun. So lots of things to monitor, lots of things to keep our eyes on when it comes to that. It's going to be interesting, I think, to look for the hurricane season this year to see how that's being affected, because if the earth is the warmest it's been in a while, then that possibly means that could lead to I would imagine, a worse hurricane season. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
I did notice last year how mild the hurricane season was, because we do live close to each other. We usually at least get one tropical storm and like 3 misses. Like we usually at least get one, but we didn't have any last year at all. And I remember being like, wow, it's September already and hurricane season's over. We didn't even experience anything yet.
Yeah, we had one of the slower ones we've had in a while. And Amber just made a good point, because she was talking about the news story today we had about the plastics in our water.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm a huge, like, water filters are expensive, but it's worth it. Because we can't live without water.
Make your own water.
Make your own water.
Oh man, for sure.
Hoaxers, how does one make water?
So Luce was talking about El Nino is in effect this year. So the last 3 years La Nina has been in effect. So now it's heating up, which La Nina, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what was causing kind of our warmer winters, or not necessarily warmer, but like the lack of snow we had this year, and El Nino was kicking in, which should be good for if you're a snow lover in the mid-Atlantic on the East Coast. For us specifically, it causes us to be a little more dry, but that's switching, and so that means that we could definitely have a more difficult hurricane season this year.
Interesting.
So real quick, just to kind of go over what we're doing and what's going on for schedule wise. Tomorrow is Friday. We were talking about trying to keep up with the schedules here in the summertime. So we have Medium J Lee tomorrow. When I know that you've been streaming on YouTube, what do you have planned going on over there?
Right now I've just moved Tarot Tuesday over to YouTube to try it out, just because I noticed it's like when I first started doing Tarot Tuesday, not that many tarot readers were on, and now it feels like there's a lot. So I just felt like there was a lot of people to choose from. So I'm just trying YouTube for a while. I'm trying to come up with another day, but my schedule is so sporadic. I don't think I can really commit to like every Wednesday or every Thursday. So Tuesday is a definite on YouTube, but the rest of it is sporadic.
Excellent. So Tuesday on YouTube. So make sure, if you aren't subscribed over there, make sure you go find Priestess of Wonderland and subscribe to get all kinds of things over there, namely the moon phases and all the stuff we were talking about earlier, but also personal readings and all that stuff over there. What other places can people find you at besides YouTube, Priestess?
Well, here on Twitch, I'm gonna see if I could put a YouTube link in the chat. I don't know if it'll let me, but I have an Instagram and Facebook. I'm not really good about being consistent on there, but pretty much Priestess of Wonderland everywhere. I do have a separate Instagram for the Just a Phase planner. My website's priestessofwonderland.com. Yeah, that's pretty much everywhere.
Excellent. priestessofwonderland.com. Make sure you go check it out.
I was able to put the YouTube channel in the chat if anybody wants to subscribe. I noticed that you guys are at 99 followers right now.
Yeah, the Witching Hours is. I was going to mention that earlier. I'm glad you said it. We are at 99 followers. So the next follow will be 100. And on my Giant of the Frost, I just got 200. So that was a little milestone for me.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah. So, growing, just like anything, for a lot of it, it's all about keeping some kind of schedule. Consistency, I think, and easier said than done sometimes. And I've wanted to move the Witching Hours to a weekly thing, but
oh yeah,
the only thing that's kept me from doing that is just guests. Being able to get all the guests lined up. So that's one thing that we could possibly do now that we're implementing the open lines is, line our guests up, and then for shows that we don't have guests, we can come up with a topic: UFOs, Bigfoot, witchcraft, astrology, and then just do call-ins and do open topics and stuff like that. So we could do more shows that way.
I wonder if posting on social media that you're like looking for people to be guests, if that would bring people your way.
Yeah, like we've done pretty good. Like we found some sites and stuff that we use to help find people now. We have more being lined up. We have a whole new batch of guests that were lined up to come on the show. That we're going to have some interesting conversations with. It looks like we're going to have Brandon Schexnader on, who actually runs another podcast, but he's coming from the music business. But he has done a whole lot of stuff dealing with ghosts and the paranormal and stuff like that. So we're going to bring him on to talk about some things. Mark Hunter Brooks, he didn't even get to talk about some of the main things he wanted to talk about the last time he was on. And so we need to talk to him about returning probably towards the end of the summer. And we have lots of guests that we had on, like when the show was kind of first starting, before we were kind of learning, just kind of getting our feet wet in this, with animal communication and stuff like that. I think that would be fun to go back and do some new shows on. So we definitely have a lot coming down the line. Medium Jenny Lee says she has a story to tell, but has to get a child to bed first. So we'll at least get one caller in tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, hoaxers, I agree. And then, it's just, it's interesting because right now, I think specifically in the streaming community, there's a lot of stuff going on because, as Luce was saying, we have the whole thing with like TikTok, like TikTok is blowing up, but, where I don't know, it's weird because I feel like with Twitch you can be successful with like everybody in your chat is just like really important. Like everybody in the community is important, and you
Yeah,
can build a
absolutely.
community. And whether you have 10 people in your community, 5 people in your community, 10 people in your community, 20 people in your community, or 100 people in the community, as much as 1,000 or whatever, those numbers get ridiculous. Some of the very large streamers out there,
Mhm.
it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter as much. But the thing I've seen with TikTok, though I haven't tried to create content on there, is you're talking about basically having to get out to like tens and hundreds or even millions of people before you can like become monetized or anything like
Oh,
that, which I
wow.
think is which even for me, I think YouTube seems like an uphill climb.
Yeah,
So
I think TikTok is the same for doing live streams is 1,000, and that's what
okay.
YouTube is. Um, yeah, I didn't know it was even larger numbers for monetization.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've just heard people talk about it. If anybody knows, there's probably people in here. Yeah, just 1K for a live stream. So you have to have 1,000 followers before you can even live stream.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like my question there is how do people, so you just have to create content by videos before you can live stream,
Yeah.
which seems counterintuitive if you're going to base your content off live streaming.
Yeah. Um, but they do have a guest or something like guest star
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok. I've seen people use it, but I don't know anything about it. So you can bring multiple people up to have a conversation. It's usually people arguing, is what I've seen
Oh yeah.
so
And,
far.
I mean, I could see the benefit of branching out and putting everything out on all the multiple platforms because I feel like, some people, definitely gravitate towards one platform or the other for sure. So I definitely wouldn't be against putting the witching hours out on some other platforms. It's just a matter of like seeing whether or not there's, I don't know. It's another road to climb, so it's interesting. And folks
Isn't there a time limit on it too?
there could be.
I don't
Uh,
think the live streams is unlimited, but the content that you post isn't it only like 1 to 5 minutes or
oh yeah,
something
because
like?
it's like a short. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could like maybe put up like a short recap or post like news segments over there or something as well. Like,
Oh, I think there's a request.
oh yeah, we have one. Oh, we have
So
Luce.
it's
Okay, let's see how this works. So we're gonna bring on Luce. Do-do-do. Hello, you're on. You're on the call-in line.
All right, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
oh, I can't.
All right, cool.
So, what did you
Sorry,
want
I
to
was
talk about,
eating
Luce?
dinner because I just got out of work.
Excellent. Can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. So, what did you want to talk about tonight?
So, when I had my reading with Jenny, we were talking about how, with Sekhmet, she said that some deities have always been there and some humans have created. And that really got me thinking and like looking specifically at more Egyptian mythology and even Greek mythology, because the Greeks at one point conquered Egypt and took pretty much all of their deities and incorporated them into their own. So it's kind of it brought that thought up process of, so who was the first deities here?
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that we could like discuss that a little bit, because I think you've got more of the Nordic side, I've got more of the Asian, African, stuff going on. So yeah.
That That's interesting. That is an interesting topic because that was something I was kind of looking into for a while. There were like some shows that I was watching. A lot of the ones that are now considered like demonic from like Judeo-Christian religions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're all gods in say like Israel and Jordan and modern day Syria that were worshipped before. So it's how far it's like that question of how far back do you go, but it's interesting because like Baal, for example, and El, who many think that the Judeo-Christian god could be based on was El. Yeah, so I mean they go back really far.
Yeah, and then you've got goddesses like Lilith. She wasn't even considered a goddess at first. She was considered the Adam's wife before Eve. So
Yes.
it's interesting how their stories all change and evolve as time goes on.
Yeah, and Jenny put in chat there, wanted to say that many early cultures thought of the sun and the moon as a deity.
Right. And like Egypt, they even went one further in that the earth was its own deity. The air between the sky was its own deity, and the sky was a deity.
Mm-hmm.
So they've even like put specifics there as well. I'm trying to find my notes as to who was who, but
so I guess one of the questions, when you brought up earlier about talking about, because you have the relationship between like the Norse gods and the Roman gods, and then the Greek gods and the Egyptian gods. Is there a connection between those Egyptian gods and Baal and El and Marduk and these other gods? Like, are we talking about all the same thing being kind of just chained into different cultures throughout history?
right. And I'm a firm believer that everybody started in like the Mesopotamian area and just kind of trickled everywhere else, So that's right smack dab where all of this, like the three major religions, that's right where everybody is at, and it just keeps going and building from there. It's like they're taking bits and pieces and creating their own religion out of each one.
Let's see. We have some other comments here. Medium Julie, I want to say that many early cultures thought of this. Okay, we talked about everything as a deity, even in Native American cultures as well.
Yes.
And when we had Athena come through a few weeks ago in one of her channelings, she said she was also known as something else in the Celtic area.
It's interesting that Medium Jenny Lee brings up Athena because
I think Artemis was even considered Sekhmet.
Reminded me of this book,
either Sekhmet or
Black
Isis.
Athena, which has that. I think it has that same idea that we all came from Mesopotamia and that we
So
are all black.
was related to the Roman goddess Diana.
Were,
so like there's all that.
But it's interesting that she brought up Athena too.
Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead, Luce. I don't know if you can you hear Priestess of Wonderland?
I just realized she was talking.
Yeah, no problem. I can help moderate there. But yeah, go ahead, Luce.
No, I was just saying, like, I was trying to correct myself in that it wasn't like Sekhmet, it was Bastet who had been likened to one of their other deities.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's very possible. What were you saying, Allison? We kind of had two people talking there, so I wasn't able to pick up everything you were saying there.
Yeah, I had to mute myself to listen to Luce on the live feed. I was just saying that it's interesting that Medium Jenny Lee brought up Athena because when Luce was talking about us all coming from Mesopotamia, that there's this book, I can't remember the author, but it's called Black Athena, and I think it's supposed to be that the first humans were not only black but also came from the Mesopotamia area, and that we are all descendants of that race of people. Or yeah.
Yeah, so going back all the way to Sumer, and going back to the original civilizations in Mesopotamia, which is really interesting though, because I'm gonna forget the name of the town now. Not like I can pronounce it very well anyway, but the one in Turkey. What am I thinking of? I'm gonna forget.
Constantinople.
No, I'll find it.
Just
Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe.
Oh yeah.
Which predates Sumer now. So I always think that that's interesting too, because Mesopotamia has been like the center of, the cradle of civilization or whatever. And maybe there were some things before it, but it was all in that Mesopotamia region. But now the oldest place we know of is in Turkey, which is kind of outside. I mean, it's in a similar region, but it's outside of that region. So that's interesting. That's interesting also, because that city exists before archaeologists and historians think that cities could have existed. But anyhow, that's kind of getting off topic. But yeah, you can't spell it medium genially. I got it. Medium genially says there has to be older places that are lost and might never be found. And I think that's for sure. And I think the heart of the question here is how far back do these gods go? And the connection between them. Because there's lots of similarities you can find. Go ahead, Allison.
I was just gonna say that's what's so crazy about Graham Hancock's show being taken off of Netflix, and how we have the evidence in the archaeology that proves that there's older than what our history books and science books say, but they're just like throwing it out as crazy.
I'm gonna mirror what Jenny just said in chat. I didn't know that they took it off. Did they cancel that show?
I think so. Yeah, they canceled it, and they're also just calling him crazy. Like,
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Because I can see if someone wants to disagree with Graham Hancock, for sure. I think there's debate that can happen there. I mean, I am an historian, so there's things that I would love to have a conversation with Graham Hancock.
well, that's the thing though, is he is open to, like,
exactly.
He doesn't care if he's right or not. He just wants the conversation to be had and the research to be done.
Exactly, and that's what I was getting ready to say. Is I think even as a trained historian, there's a lot of credence in what he talks about, and he's not. I don't see him as trying to force feed anyone anything. He's just asking people to look at evidence that he's come across, and no one's willing to give it serious consideration. Yeah, for sure. Were there any other things you wanted to talk about, Luce? Like any other connections you wanted to bring up? Oh, is Luce still with us?
Oh, I unmuted myself on accident.
No, you're fine.
I guess the biggest thing that I've been learning in my researching of these mythologies and working with these deities myself is that while they have this divinity, they want us to realize that we are our own divinity and are somewhat equal to them. Because when I first started working with Bastet and Sekhmet, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, all powerful, almighty. But Sekhmet at one point like slapped me and she's like, what the hell are you doing? You know, we are one, you know, we are everything. And so it's helped my working with them become more powerful and working with myself more powerful. So I think that the more we look at them, we can see us as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, Luce, because Jenny just said that in chat too. But we were actually having a conversation. We went on a late night date trip to Walmart. We were magically swept away to Walmart. But we were having that conversation on the car ride when I was talking. We were talking about organized religion, and I said, you know, I think the faults that I find in organized religion, and I'm not going to bash anyone's religion. I think all religions can serve a really good purpose for that person. But the issue that I have with them specifically, we passed the church, and I saw the word worship, and I was like, you know, I think that's one thing on my spiritual journey that I found is that word is almost offensive to me now. This idea that I have to worship something else, because everything that I've seen, and I think, you know, like with what you're talking about, Luce, and you know, it's like that the idea that we're all part of the same thing, and these this energy wanting us to understand that we're not so different, that we're all on the same level in certain ways, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like,
Yeah, I was just going to stand up.
especially like it's going around TikTok.
We are Groot.
Everybody should be working with deities. That's this and that, and you know, you had to be careful though because they could like screw up your life. Yeah. Oh, sorry, she's talking.
No, you're fine. Yeah, continue, Luce. We got you.
No, that's like really it. It's just holding that place for yourself and like holding yourself up higher. That's all. That's really all I had to say.
Yeah. Yeah, but and that goes down to, you know, and Jenny said it there in chat too, like we aren't supposed to be bowing down and kissing rings. And I think that's where some of religion has fundamentally been changed because it was humanized and it was used as part of politics. And so when a king or an emperor or, you know, whoever was the leader of a country could use religion to gain control of the population, then they could use that whole bow down and kiss the ring mentality and add that to religion. Whereas that was like a human idea of control that found its way into religion that, you know, I personally believe probably didn't exist there before. And so, yeah, thank you so much for calling in, Luce. I really appreciate it, coming in and being our first open lines caller. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, so I think that was interesting because that's kind of the message there of like staying, of realizing how much power we have. And that's typically, I don't think that's something that's taught to people or thought of by people in large groups.
Well, I think the statement that I mistakenly said to a Christian person one time was, "We are one," or that we're all part of the Creator, and they were infuriated by it and could not believe that anybody would ever think that they were even remotely close to God. And I don't understand where that mindset comes from, or like that much hatred. Like why that much hatred towards just not believing the same thing that you believe?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it comes to like the same thing. Like, I mean, imagine if that was something that was put out, or if that's something that was taught in religion, is that you don't have to bow down before anybody, that no one's above you. that you are part of God, you know, to a certain extent, you know, however you want to phrase that. I mean, I think spiritually, that's a wonderful thing to tell people. And it's a wonderful way to look at things. But if you're trying to run a government and keep some kind of social stratification in place, that's not gonna work too well.
We're still peasants, and we don't even realize it.
Well, we have another caller here, so let's go ahead and do this one. Just remember, I guess this is going to be another snafu that we'll have to work out, is that they can hear me, but they won't be able to hear you tonight, Allison, and they won't be able to hear Jenny unless we come up with a solution there for the future. So we'll just have to figure something out.
Well, everybody could be on guest star, though, right?
Possibly. We might just have to do a test stream and get going there. And try it all out again. But anyway, we have Medium Jenny Lee on. Can you hear us, Medium Jenny Lee? Not yet. So
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yay. Hi, everybody. So the reason why I'm not here was like for reals, and why lovely Allison had to come take my spot is because I had to go to a memorial service for my uncle's mother-in-law. And there was a very strange synchronicity that happened that kind of got me like pumped up about synchronicities again. And I just wanted to share it. So my aunt's sister, you know, my aunt by marriage, her sister gets up there and she tells a story about how she had a dream. And they're like they're very Christian. But we won't get into all of that right now. So she had a dream that they were at church and they were like getting ready for this huge party. And she was trying to figure out, this was back in January, and she was trying to figure out who this party was for. And she realized that it was for her mom. And in the party, there was like a huge cake. And she kept talking about how there was confetti. Confetti was falling from the sky. Okay, so fast forward to the end of the service. One of her children gets up to talk about his grandma. And his children are standing on the stage, and they're like little, like 3 and 4. And lo and behold, the little boy bends down and out of freaking nowhere picks up a handful of gold confetti that was just laying on the stage. And it had been sitting there since 2019, and no one had ever cleaned it up. And it had just been sitting there waiting for this little boy to pick it up and throw it at his great grandma's memorial service after his grandma had just talked about there being a party with confetti. It was unbelievable. I could not, it was like, what in the world just happened? It was amazing. It was a freaking miracle.
Wow. So the woman had talked about there being a party for her departing
her mom,
their mortal realm.
Yes. In January, she had that dream. She wrote it in her diary.
And then there just happened to be confetti laying on the stage,
which her grandson picked up and threw up in the air.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Did anybody else make that connection that was there?
I don't know if they did, but oh, go ahead, Allison.
You're good, Allison. You can go ahead. We got to mess with that delay.
For the second thought she was gonna say that like nobody knew where the confetti came from, like it just appeared out of the ether.
Yeah. Yeah, because 2019, I mean, that's 4 years ago now,
Yes.
if I did my math correctly.
It was like, well, the aunt or something was like, that confetti's been sitting there. That confetti's from 2019. It's like, well, nobody ever picked it up. And then somehow it's just sitting there. Like, nobody ever cleaned it up because it was meant to be there for that little boy to pick it up and throw it at his great grandma's memorial service. That's why, you know, It was, I had to tell her, like, you know, I had to go up and tell her. I was like, do you realize your grandson found a confetti that you said in your dream, you know? And I don't know what she thought, but it turns out they're just as crazy as I am, just in a different way. So it's probably all right.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty interesting. Another one of those never a coincidence, right? There are no coincidences.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
CMC missed some of it, so he says have to watch the VOD. So, did you want to say anything about Void Cat Luce's call?
I think most of what I wanted to say was
in chat.
I put in the chat. Yeah, it's interesting stuff that I think we can start to unravel the mystery of, and I think more things will come to light over time as we continue down our woo-woo paths here.
Yeah, and then, you know, one thing that I was kind of thinking of when we had Luce on the line that I can bring up now too is, you know, the question we have also, because of what is going on with, you know, what you talked about with the Ra connection and what we talked about with Ra too, is are any of these actual deities, you know, or are they, you know, essentially, is it Stargate? Is it like this extraterrestrial higher density, you know, where there's like not just like this god or these pantheon of gods, but just all kinds of different beings coming from all over different places that have had some kind of connection and discussion with humans.
Seems like some of it is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for calling in, Medium Jenny Lee.
Yeah, thanks for letting me tell my fun story.
Yeah, and this is working
service.
Absolutely 100% perfect on my end, but it sounds like you might have some issues on your end.
Yeah, not being able to hear Allison and like her not really being able to hear me is that gets complicated. But so we'll have to just do a test run of people joining guest star or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, we'll just do a stream we'll just do like a guest star stream and
that's what it's called. Yeah, I see it. It's right here.
Yeah.
I'm on it right now. Would you like
for me to get off of Discord and try to request and see if we can all be on there?
Yeah, let's go ahead and try it.
Okay.
There's no better time than the present, I guess. So let me see if we can do it. So the stream's going to look completely whacked out because everything's going to go crazy, but it'll be fine. We'll see how it works out, and that way we can get it kind of set up for the future.
Hello, Chicago. Row Dave 3 from Chicago. You're talking to us from the past, because for us it's 9:45. I thought you were Gabby Topaz. Hello, Ari Borealis, formerly known as Gabby Topaz.
Ah.
And we're racking up all the followers now.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, there we go. Moving right through. Thank you so much for the follows. We, if you've caught us, Roly Poly Pandas, welcome in. Thank you for the follow.
Damn, there goes another one.
We are doing a little bit of test stuff right now. We're setting up, just to kind of catch everybody up if you're jumping in here. Hello from Florida.
Florida.
Welcome, welcome. Typically, on the witching hours, we have guests. We've had all kinds of guests. We've had guests that come on and talk about the metaphysical, UFOs, ghost hunters, animal communicators, people talking about fringe science, all kinds of stuff.
Weird stuff,
anything
right?
weird, paranormal, metaphysical. And so what we're doing right now is we're trying to set up a system so that instead of just asking questions in chat, people can always ask questions in chat, but to actually have like a call-in line so people can come in and talk to the guests one-on-one. Also, we want to have a system set up so that we can have you wonderful people call in and tell us, talk about stuff you guys want to talk about. Or if we have, we do a ghost stories show for Halloween, people can actually call in and tell us their ghost story instead of just reading it from chat. So that is what we're accomplishing tonight. So we've hit a couple snafus, but it seems to be working for the most part. It's working much better than it did last time, I think, Allison.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and call it there. We'll go ahead and end the stream here tonight. Thank you everybody who came in to talk with us tonight. We had some pretty interesting things to talk about, and we will be back 2 weeks from today. I think we have the guests. I don't have it quite confirmed yet, but as soon as I find out something, I'll put it on the Discord. Thank you, Roly Poly Pandas, for the follow. Thank you.
We had 100 followers, and then it
Yes.
was like bam, 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 like a whole bunch more right after that. So
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Igualis, Arborealis, Road Dave 3. Thank you so much for the follows. And I think that's part of it too, because it probably told them, like we figured out, it told them that Priestess and Medium Genie went live.
Yeah, and they're like,
Holy
oh my
smokes. We're going
It
to
has
look at
to
our
be there.
readings.
And Luz, don't forget Luz.
Yes. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you, Luz, for coming on and helping us try that out. That was so awesome. And we were able to kind of, unfortunately, there's no way to really practice it backstage. So thank you for helping us get that out there. So Medium Genie leave Friday. We have Priestess of Wonderland. It'll be on YouTube Tuesday. So make sure you go give her a follow and subscribe over there. And we will see you all later.